Hello, my name is Alan Rogers, and I am presenting my capstone report on predicting the impact of Greensboro's housing crisis through an analytical approach. To give a little bit of a background, the Housing Committee of the Community Foundation of Greater Greensboro has been working with city policymakers and developers to come up with a way to fix the lack of affordable housing in Greensboro. By working with the Center of Housing and Community Studies as a project manager, we collected, prepared, and analyzed data in order to provide recommendations for solving the housing issue. There are four main working parts in this project. The first one was collecting surveys. These surveys were a visual inspection of every parcel in the Greensboro city limits to assess what substandard housing conditions were available and in current data, which is previously not collected. Then we cleaned the data, which took a lot of time. Then we run analysis, and we used SPSS. And then we provide spatial analysis with our collected data. We use a process called geoprocessing to show our demographics, socioeconomics, and substandard housing data through maps. First, I would like to show you this is Loveland Technologies map. It's just a map of Greensboro, and it's two working parts. We have Moorhead and Gilmore. Those were the previous cities prior to Greensboro, and they joined to create all of Greensboro. As you'll notice in this area here in Greensboro, which is considered a low income area, which is the southeast area in Greensboro, you'll see patterns throughout the maps that we have created, showing that these are the main focal points that we need for development. I'd also like to briefly show you these outlines here. These outlines are areas that I had to draw out for people who had volunteered from various places. I reached out to students in the Office of Leadership and various other classes that needed some type of community service engagement. And this was very rewarding for both the student and myself in terms of service learning, because not only is this project that they're helping getting them community service hours, it's also going outside the Pearson textbooks and actually applying this data and information gathering is something that's going to be used for the betterment or improvement of the city. So we found that very rewarding. So within this, you were able to go into your highlighted area as a volunteer and go to every single parcel within your outline and look at a visual inspection. And I will briefly show you what that would look like. So each parcel that you click on, you're going to get a picture that looks just like this, and you're going to have questions next to it, such as this one here: describe the parcel. Is it a vacant lot? Is it an open building? And then there's 82 variable questions that open up depending on what you answer to help us better assess the home, whether it's vacant, what are the conditions. This particular example is a pretty nice home, looks like someone's there. So just for a comparison, I found a vacant home just to show you the siding and the roofing and the issues. There's visible foundation issues. That's just wanted to show you that example so you can see one versus the other of what type of visual inspections that we were able to do and find. The next portion of this was cleaning the data. There were a lot of parcels that had missing data. Some parcels are side lots. They don't have property or homes on them, buildings, so you can't really assess that, and that data needed to be kind of null and void and marked out for our collection. Just to touch a little bit on the portion of analysis, here's some of the findings that we were able to find, and they play different parts. Let's start with the first one here. Homes with fair to poor housing foundations. 33% of the homes in Greensboro had fair to poor, so they weren't good, and that also equates and has a correlation to having a decreased home value. Whenever we found two variables that we saw were issues, we would run a bivariate correlation in SPSS to see if, for example, trees over a house play any effect on the poor quality, and how can that be improved. Some other issues: 30% of homes had visible foundation cracks. 12 porches were poor. Stairs were poor. 48% had no handrails. That was a lot, but some may or may not need that. 1 in 5 homes had no efficient porch lighting. One may say, why is that important at all? Well, it's very important in terms of safety for your home and value for your home. If you call an ambulance or a police and you need help, you need to have good lighting and your number visibility on your home in order for EMS or fire to be able to find you. So that also goes into play the value of your home. We had siding, 7% was poor, 33% was fair. Had a lot of missing siding, 10%. 21% had holes. 24% had homes and paint peeling. So this is more of a frequency-based type of analytical approach. Just to briefly touch on some of our bivariate correlations that we had. Sorry for the scrolling. Here is one of the bivariate correlations of total value of your home in regard to overall condition of the foundation. And if you'll notice here, the 0.31 shows us that there is a direct correlation between the two, and there's room for vast improvement. So next step, from whenever we analyze this data, we needed to build a map, a spatial analytical map that shows kernel density. This is one of our main maps that we're using and published, where it shows through our collected data substandard housing density based on location of parcels, with poor roof, paint, foundation, and missing gutters. Again, as I had pointed out, in the southeast portion of Greensboro are these high density areas, and there's a process called geoprocessing that we used in narrowing down these block level variants that show what areas in Greensboro need the most improvement. We were actually able to narrow it down to 3 neighborhoods that really need the most improvement. Let's see. Here's another map just showing at a block level the vacancy by group. Knowing the vacancy is something, if you were to use Policy Map, you can find this data from 2010 to 2014. But what about the past 2 years, which is more current and up to date, and what we need to know in order to have people who are homeless or in need of a shelter, they need to know this more up-to-date data. A couple of other demographic maps that I would like to touch on that helped in our decision process. Pardon again the scrolling. Here's a map that I created on policy using our data, Policy Map, that I was able to pinpoint every vacant home in Greensboro. And again, you're seeing this very, very high density pattern in the southeast region, which goes to show us more and more that we need to improve on that. Another predominant thing that we were looking at was race and ethnicity, and we also found that there's similar patterns in the low-income, predominantly African-American area, such as the southeast portion of Greensboro, is also very low income, and you can see that in this map here. You can also see it in the estimated per capita income. It's kind of, the map has flip-flopped here, where the dark areas are the higher income and the lighter area is where the lower income is, and it's a continued pattern that shows that these neighborhoods in the southeast region that are predominantly African American also have a low income, and they're getting less money fed into it. So it's a vicious cycle, as in these homes are not getting improved and the income is not there. Luckily, during this process, during the election, the Greensboro Housing Bond was voted yes, and Greensboro got the allotment to improve on these portions of housing. And this type of data and map and spatial analysis will be given to the city officials to help in their decision process and making on what areas they want to improve upon. Here's one more demographic just wanted to show. Just something that we also take into consideration is the age of the home. And this map shows, the more darker areas show the newer homes. So most of Greensboro City is going to be on the lighter side, showing that that they're the older homes, and they take a little bit more care and are going to need more love and attention and money in order to not be substandard. One variable I'd like to mention is whenever we're considering if a substandard rent price is too much, we assess that on an overall national basis of if you are spending 30% of what you make on rent, then that is too much. That is rent inflation and needs to be improved upon. So we assess the conditions of homes and if they are substandard, and if they are vacant or if they are abandoned, and how these landlords are using their money from rent or not at all to improve upon these areas. So what were the objectives? One main objective was to complete a remote visual assessment with the CHCS team and find volunteers, which we were able to do. We engaged students in service learning. We were able to acquire recently sold data from the county to compile census and ACS data, acquire code enforcement data and delinquency tax info. That way we can view the overall total value in correlation with the standards as I showed you in the bivariate correlation. With this data, we were able to present it to the Housing Committee of Community Foundation of Greater Greensboro and show them those neighborhoods that need to be improved upon. We created all of our maps using ArcGIS and PolicyMap, and providing this tool that we use through Loveland Technology and the processes that we use, we hope to better enrich other communities who are looking for this more updated type of data to give an assessment of where they are and how to improve upon those vacancies. Some of the data used are here. I'm not going to go through them all, but these are some of the data that we used and collected from city officials. I'd like to briefly touch on just two challenges. One was the cleaning of data. We had somebody assigned to that but could no longer afford it, so it took a little bit extra time for me and the director to go through and cleaning all that data. And then the quality of volunteers, quality control for the volunteers, just making sure that they are surveying correctly and not just speeding through it to get their time due. Overall, I felt like the service learning aspect of this was very rewarding, and we were able to produce some analytics that will help our greater community in Greensboro. Thank you.